and Ryan Stone. He's a halfway decent-looking guy, a nice smile. You have to get through that wall.
79T, 2458, Learning Corp, Little Red Riding Hood, take one.
Somebody find out their fucking real names for me.
40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone. Does that make sense?
You have to get through that wall.
So I only know what my heart feels.
Where they say there are Indian people pooping on our beach.
Socially retarded.
It's a spool of wire. 40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone.
If you're in Canada and somebody hits you with okay there, bud, that's slang for shut the fuck up.
Dude, I don't know what it is. I got a folder here with like 500 TikToks in them of all goofy crap like this. And some of them are hilarious and some of them are dumb. But I'm all for it. Anyways, guys, welcome. It's week 2 or 3 of the broken ass camera, but renovations are still going on, so we'll see. I'm not going to bother until everything is up and running and fixed and working. It shouldn't be too long though, so until then you're just going to have to put up with a face that's just made for radio, which is, dude, it's like AM radio now. You're on your morning commute, and why are you working on a Saturday? Because you're a working man, god damn it, and those goddamn Democrats. And this is why Obama, Hitler, or what's it like? No, it's Hitler if it's left wing anger, and if it's right wing anger, it's the devil. He's the damn devil. What the heck? Oh, what the hell? Good morning, couch. Does taking a beta blocker for your heart make you a default alpha? Well, I do have to say.
So the memes, they're very good. This is really, they've taken it.
True alpha.
Named Ryan Stone.
It says, ask Murphy about the article he wrote, cuckolding his wife. Clear up the cuck article. Clear up the cuck article.
Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me?
If I wasn't prepared to literally impoverish his entire bloodline.
I am now concerned for my career.
And I'm still recommending
Clear up the cuck article.
You know what? Fuck you for bringing this up. Yeah. Fuck you. Heartfelt.
I'm not going to have those guys back on my channel again. Absolutely not.
Just use a little bit of fucking common sense.
It is just...
That's great. That's you should.
Fuck you.
Sorry, apologies.
Just keep going, dude. One foot in front of the other. Before you know it, this will all be in the rearview mirror. Fuck you.
Out of all the things to be known for, cussing chicken. I don't know if he's more known for the cuck chair or for cussing out Sydney Watson. And I don't know which one's the better one. They're just so funny. And you know the worst part? If he was like a Dick Masterson or Ryan Stone type of guy, he could have leveraged that into some great branding. Like, dude, if I'm on a live stream somewhere telling some chick to go F herself, dude, I should have, you know what I should have done? I should have done that with an erudite chick or the one with the big boobs or the Emily one with the short lesbian haircut. That would have been so good. I mean, granted, like 10 years later, they're like, what is this? Why are you cussing out this chick? It's like, you had to be there. You had to be there. Anyways, yeah, and and you guys saw it from last week. So it's like we're leveraging off of last week's. It's a pre-release party for Prax 4, by the way, which I think is out Monday next week. No, it's out tomorrow. Holy sweet Jesus, it is tomorrow. It is a pre-release party. Holy Jesus, bud. We're in there. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, so I was looking through and I'm still trying to get the word out for Ghost of Odessa, Softbone 2 and Praxeology Volume 4. And I would say it's an absolutely stupid thing to do. Don't ever have 2 books ready to release at the same time. It's just because you're splitting up your marketing. And so now I've got 2 random messages. The first message is, men helping men, iron sharpening iron, a story of red-pilled mental models. And, even though in the very beginning of Fuck Files, I think the very first chapter, and I'm going to pull it up to make sure, there was a chapter called 2 Types of Men. It might be in Frame, but I'm pretty sure it was Fuck Files. 2 types of men. No, it was Frame. Yeah. And there's like and it's talking about the dual mating theory, right? Where it's alpha fucks and beta bucks, or the provider and the lover. And I noticed early on that when we're talking about, sexual dynamics, either if you're single or if you're married and whatever, that it seems like there's 2 separate archetypes. Like, I've never believed in genetic determinism, but my time in the red pill has been the most persuasive argument for nature versus nurture. You know what I mean? Hey, what's going on? Yeah, the camera will be there. I gotta, I should just like buckle down. It's only like $200. I can just go buy another one. They have to come in from Britain, so it takes a little while. We called our twin cousins the bookends. Fair enough. But yeah, so there was like the alpha fucks and the beta bucks were kind of personified in people. And I don't want to say it as in like the categorical, because there has been like most of the confusion in the red pill space has been lumping us all together in that stupid, nonsensical feminist attack buzzword, the manosphere, which I've never liked. I may use it occasionally only for clarity, but I find it's like, it was just designed so that Dalrock had to apologize for Roosh being Roosh, or anybody really. Like, we all had to be like, oh, what do you think about, it's like now when you're in the red pill and you're like, well, what's with Andrew Tate kidnapping all those women? You're like, I don't care. But back then, we didn't know how to be marketing savvy and just ignore people. People had to explain themselves. Cernovich is banging troons in Thailand. What do you think about that? It's like, dude, this is a carpentry blog. Yeah, but you're in the manosphere. You guys are part of the same cabal. It's like, is this like that Jewish Illuminati conspiracy where every Jewish person you've talked to knows about it, but none of them get invited to the meeting? So apparently there is a cabal, but just like, you'll never meet the guys who go there. Or maybe they're all lying. Anyways, that's the manosphere one. But the point was, the confusion was Vox Day, which I think he called his little niche the Dark Enlightenment, which was something to do, I think is it Catholic or Orthodox? I want to say Catholic, but if I get it mixed up, don't be offended in the chat. Just switch the words in your head and they'll make sense still. And he was doing that thing, which is kind of like a return to tradition shtick. And he had his socio-sexual hierarchy in his old blog, Alpha Male Game, or Alpha Man Game. Jesus. I forgot what the name of the goddamn thing is. Oh, a second here. I'll pull it up. This is where I needed Jamie. Hey, speaking of which, you hear that rumor that Jamie is now Joe Rogan's handler and he's been bought? I think it's absolutely hilarious. Alpha Game. Okay, it's just Alpha Game. We call him Couch, and his epithet is the wrong word for it. Yeah, fair enough. Oh, I see. Never mind. You're responding to somebody else. Yeah, so he did the socio-sexual hierarchy, and that's where he started doing a bunch of names for guys. There was alpha males and beta males, and for some reason there was no Charlie males, which I'm assuming that's because of racism sake. And then there was delta males. There's no echo or foxtrots, but there was gamma males. And then for some reason he skips all the letters and goes straight down to sigma or ligma, sigma, and omega. And it was just like, look, I get it. It's cringe as shit, but I get what he was trying to do. He was just trying to give you like a nice little, what's the word for it? Like a snapshot. If you're in a group, if you're in a new organization, if you want to quickly just categorize guys so you can kind of know how to treat whoever, they were good enough categories and they kind of worked. If you guys don't know, and this is Vox, this is not Red Pill. Vox was never Red Pill, by the way. This is what I'm talking about here. That's why the term manosphere has been very confusing. So Vox had alpha males, and alpha males were the ones that get all the chicks, and they're the best friend at the party, and they're essentially the leader of men. You know, the one that everybody likes to follow. He's charming, he's wicked, he's whatever. It wasn't so much their qualities that he had, it's the place that he had within the group. And then there was beta males, which, again, you always think of beta male as in like the relationship cuck, because that's what they did in the red pill side. But on his side, the beta male was the best friend. He's the one that brought the beer to the party. He's not quite as as top tier as the alpha male, but he was like the lieutenants, and that's how Vox organized them. What you're thinking of when you think of beta male, he used to call it delta male. Delta male was just like the working man, the schlub. He does okay. He's just your average guy. He's not seen as like the sexual Tyrannosaurus. He's more of like a sexual, Stegosaurus or something. I'm not sure if that really makes any sense in the metaphor, but and then he went all the way down to what do I get there? Alpha, beta, delta. Ligma was something he was gonna like. I don't know. It was like I'll explain this one later. I don't know. It had something to do with drugs. That's all I remember. And then he had Omega Male, which was those are like like if you're thinking Elliot Rodger, they're antisocial. They're not even invited to the party. They're basically your social recluse. That's an Omega Male. It's just somebody you write off, basically. And unfortunately, he also coined that term Sigma Male. If you guys have heard of Sigma Male, it's the most self-flattering. I think the way he puts it is, if you think, you know what? Actually, that's Gamma Male. Sigma Male was Renegade Alpha is what Royce called it. See why it's so confusing? Everybody has like, they kind of borrow from everything. And so somebody like Royce stole a little bit of Sigma Male and he called it Renegade Alpha. Essentially what it was though, was a guy who you'd think would be an alpha. Like why is he not running the show? He has a hot chick under his arm. People are like, he's really charming. Why is he just like floating through this thing? What that essentially meant was he was like the top tier of some other social group elsewhere. And maybe he's friends with somebody at this party, so he comes in and joins. And so it's like, yeah, it was like a weird thing as he was categorization errors. And you see, this is why it's not red pill. It's not the most useful thing. It's not helpful. This isn't something you can use to get anywhere. It's a way of sitting in a room, knowing that you're smarter than everybody else, going, oh, that's an alpha, that's a beta, that's a sigma, this one's a whatever. Which unfortunately is what makes people like a gamma. And this is what the gamma male, when he says gamma male, that was the one thing of his I liked. Because gamma male is antisocial disorder mixed with narcissistic personality disorder, 100%. They're the guys they're the Anthony Johnsons, if you remember those names. They are the ones that will, if they don't get to run the show, they will ruin it for everybody. They love women and then they hate women and it flips on a dime because depending on how they were treated that day, very emotionally unstable. They fail the marshmallow test. Remember the marshmallow test? Yeah, exactly. Secret kings. That was what the pickup artists used to call them, the secret kings. Like, I'm a king and you guys just don't know it yet. And they latched onto that Sigma male tag because he's like, yeah, if you think you're a Sigma male, you're a Gamma male. So this stuff was all fun and good laughs and that, but don't mind the dog. Apparently some ghosts have just tried to enter the place. Chomsky. Z male for Canadian. I don't remember. Oh, Zulu. Yeah, it'd have been Zulu. Because the Z and Z thing was so confusing, they had to change it from zebra to Zulu. If you're going to do the NATO voicing thing. Thank you very much, Ross the Skunk, for the $2 super chat, by the way. So they stole this stuff. Now, none of this stuff is red pill. None of it. Absolutely none of it. It's not useful. It's not helpful. It's MBTI for autists. And I'm not saying this to hate on Vox. I enjoyed SJW's Always Lie. I think it was a good book. I think it was a great book. I'm surprised more people who are working online don't read that book because it's one of the most useful things you can find, especially if you're making edgy your whole personality and your whole business strategy. But what the fuck do I know? I'm only the guy who's been here for 8 years, sent Goatsy out 500 times and still survived without a single cancel whatever, which I could have used right now for the book release. I've been canceled by Softbone 2, The Revenge. I've been canceled. Yeah, it sounds like the dude did not use Charlie because it was not a Greek letter, had to spurg out. Yeah, it makes sense. Finally melted. Oh, yeah, Texas. Look, Texas. I don't mean... Look, okay. Stop. We got to put the show on hold. We're going to talk about snow. Being a Canadian... You guys are embarrassing, man. What the hell are you doing? Texas is flat as shit, isn't it? I don't recall there being a big mountainous terrain. Maybe on the west side of it, there might be a little touch of the Rockies. But so I was born in Alberta, which is flat and cold, like negative 45. The only place colder than Alberta is Siberia. And I lived in BC, which is all mountains, all corners, the entire, like, imagine this. Imagine your state, picture all your highways. Now pretend all of them are on a mountain. And then it's like always 2 or 3 lane highways at most. And on the side of the cliff, it's just a cliff. There's no shoulder. There's just a cliff. And logging trucks are everywhere. And ice and snow is everywhere. So you get, like, it's life or death. You learn how to drive this stuff. Because occasionally they throw on those big cement f-stops. And then I spent some time in La Belle Provence, Quebec. Which is the wettest cold I've ever seen. It's just like, they don't know if they want to be a swamp or a tundra. And then Toronto, which is just kind of, it's pretty mild compared to everywhere else. Anyways, Vancouver Island was the only other place that kind of had the snow thing like Texas, where once you get an inch of snow, everybody crashes and dies. Here's the thing, though. It's nautical. Everything's on the coast by the ocean. So you get ice everywhere. And everything on the island is on a hill. Every stop sign, every stoplight is at the bottom of a hill. And there's been times where your car just decides, even if you're fully stopped, your car's just like, no, I'm sliding. So when I see Texas with 2 inches of snow and Alberta flatness, or not even, it was like an inch of snow and people are dying, it's like, what are you guys doing? I get it. You don't have winter tires. You probably don't even have all seasons, although a lot of you guys ride trucks, so I don't know how you don't have them. But even if you don't, a lot of us were trained as teenagers how to drive in the snow in like Mazda Miatas with bald tires. I've driven in snow with, like, my tires were so treadless that you could see wires underneath it. And we learned. You learn to handle it. Like, first off, you go a little slower than you would otherwise. You learn to steer in. When you're sliding, you steer into things. You know, when you're at hills, you don't slam on your brakes. Everything has to be gentle. Use the engine to slow you down. I could fix Texas's snow driving problem in a heartbeat if they would let me, but they won't. Anyways, I'm very annoyed, and like, I'm jealous that you guys have all this barbecue and guns everywhere, and I think that's great. But it's like, the one thing we can do as a cultural exchange is we'll change some snow tires, and you guys bring us some of that brisket. Can we do that? Can we agree to that? Finally canceled the TV as part of my cable bill. I'm subscribed to YouTube TV. Went from $275 to $150 a month. They were charging me to rent the boxes. Oh, dude, it's ridiculous. How do you still have cable? We're on a digression this week, but that's fine. How do you still have cable? I canceled cable in 2000 something. I don't know what year specifically. I do actually know what, I could look it up, because you know what it was? I was sitting in my condo, and there was me, and there was my roommate. Her name was Taryn. She was awesome. She's the one I wrote about in Fuck Files that loved screwing around with sailors, and we'd always go pick up and break up couples together and take them back to our place. She was like the best wingman ever because you could split up couples with her. Anyways, we were watching Survivor, which I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. It was a show where they put you on an island and then you try to survive with a bunch of... It was like the first reality show, the very first one. And I was watching season 1, which starred this gay guy named Richard, who lost a bunch of weight and he acted like a prick. And I remember at one point I started yelling at the TV because somebody was doing something so stupid. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. And I canceled cable the next day. I'm like, if I'm yelling at my TV, something's up. How you made it to the year Alto Domini 2026, the year of our Lord, still with cable, it must be for sports. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I could see people still wanting cable for, is for sports, which sucks anyway, because I hear it's like blackout region. So if you like a team, you don't necessarily get to watch them because you live in the wrong area to watch, like, the Patriots or whatever. I am just surprised if the sports teams were smart, like if the leagues were smart, they would set up some kind of streaming service. And that's it. Just all the teams, every game. You could even sign on to like lesser plans where it's just like, I just want to watch the games, my team's games. Or you could be like, I want to watch all the teams' games. Or you could be, all that. And they could have made a fortune on that. But for some reason, they're just not doing it. Anyways, congrats on getting rid of your cable or your cable. YouTube TV which I'm assuming is just YouTube Premium. Absolutely wonderful. It's just ad-free YouTube watching. Plus, the people you like on YouTube, like if you're watching them, every view on YouTube Premium counts way more than a view which is like ads or whatever. I remember a couple years back they had a study that they were releasing as part of like the YouTube Creators Program. And they're saying if 30% of people who watched YouTube had a YouTube Premium account, they could get rid of ads on the platform, which blew my mind. So you're doing the Lord's work, sir. Alpha AK with a $10.01. See, that's how you do it. If you don't want to get the Jack Murphy, $10.01 super chat. From the way you describe it, Canada has a different breed of rednecks for the snow. Oh, dude, yeah. It's so funny because, like, I'm a redneck. I'm a huge redneck. I don't know if you can ever give it up, but I'm talking like throwing cow shit at your buddy, redneck. Inner tubing down the river, redneck. When you went out to party, like we had a farm. There was like a big field. That's where we partied in. And there's always somebody who had a chainsaw in their truck to cut down the wood for the fire for the party. Riding tractors, all that kind of stuff. The Canada redneck is a different beast. Like, first off, I don't know, other than like the little bit you guys tell me, I don't know a lot about the American rednecks. But I will say this. So we're not armed, so we fight a lot. A lot. Everybody loves throwing hands. And there was like weird race wars. Baseball was always our sport. And if you weren't drinking the night of a baseball tournament, you would always see like the big group of like the rednecks drinking, having fun, talking about the sport. And then there'd be like the native team or the East Indian team. And then there would be like these race wars that would happen, which was like more entertaining than the game, in my opinion. There was a lot of cocaine in the redneck community. That's because NAFTA kind of shafted the softwood lumber industry on the West Coast, which really was annoying. And then NAFTA shafted the automobile industry on the East Coast, which was, again, equally annoying. And then oil prices hitting $30 a barrel really destroyed the riggers in Alberta, which was kind of annoying. So everybody was coked up for a while there. And then the money ran dry. And then everybody started doing crack. And then once the rednecks got into crack, I don't think we ever had our opioid crisis like Americans did. I think we mostly just stuck with the 80s. And it's like, let's just do crack. And it was just wild times, man. Wild times. But the snow is just, like, you get used to the snow because it's always there. I'm assuming if you talk to people who are from the Great Lakes area, like Michigan or Illinois, they probably have, I know Vermont is the same way with driving through snow. In fact, if I had to give you like a stateside equivalent of like snow monkey rednecks, I would have to say for Vancouver Island, you'd probably talk to somebody from Washington State. From BC proper, you could probably talk to somebody from Wyoming. Maybe North Dakota. Anyways, Alberta, I know they say Texas, but that's just because of the hats. I don't think it's very Texas. It's weird. It's like it's gonna sound weird, but Chicago. Think redneck Chicago. I think that's the only way I can explain it. It's hard to explain. Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, or Saskatchewan and Manitoba, I couldn't even tell you the rednecks there. I just know there's a lot of natives and racism in Manitoba from my brief time in Winnipeg. But they're almost like a Vermont, New England type of people. And then, of course, you got Quebec. You think Quebec is like, oh, it's like the Paris of Canada. And you're like, no, it's not. It's like it's Mississippi and New Orleans with snow. And then Ontario is just, it's its own beast. I don't know how to describe. The only way I can describe it is there's the loyalty list in the American Revolution. Those are the Americans that are like, no, we don't want no part of this. That's Ontario. And then the East Coast, they're just their own breed. They're like Ireland, sort of, but not really, because the Irish have like this huge... If you guys ever get a chance to, on TikTok or YouTube, there is a bunch of Irish podcasts that have just discovered the rock. And they're like, oh my God, these newfies, they sound like the Irish, but they're not Irish at all. And they'll always like, can I get you on my podcast? And they fly them over there and they just start talking Newfoundlandese to an Irishman. And then none of them could understand the other one. And they're all just like a different incomprehensible garbage. They get screeched. Oh, man, it's so much fun. But yeah, I guess it's a different breed, which sucks, though, because those are the kind of, like when you see a lot of the Canadian nationalism, not that fake, like gay Ontario hate America stuff, but like actual Canadian nationalism, the ones that's angry at the CPC for like, stop putting on turbans and pandering to the Sikhs, man. Like, we're right here. Yeah, they had like, it's like a whole culture. It's Canadian culture, 100%. Just sucks how we've kind of lost it. Oh, well, but whatever. Look at the GDP and think of the restaurants. All right, Ross the Skunk, another $2 snow necks at the Alpha. Oh, that's funny. I like that. Letterkenny types, give your balls a tug. You know what's funny? I've never actually seen Letterkenny. For the longest time, I got that mixed up with Kenny and Spenny. I watched all the Trailer Park Boys. I just missed Letterkenny, which is kind of annoying. I also didn't really watch Schitt's Creek. My girl liked it. Which Kathleen O'Hara just died yesterday, which is very annoying, very sad. The hot mom from Home Alone. YouTube TV is cable that streams for $80 a month. No shit. YouTube gets cable. I mean, if it works, it works. Chicago is yuppies, hood, and foreigners. Yeah, there we go. That sounds about right now. I don't know, man. Calgary's different. They used to be... So it was like wealthy people that LARP as rednecks. Because like, yeah, I'm a redneck. I wear a cowboy boot. I wear a Stetson. I wear Wranglers. And then you see they're at like the ski hill. You're like, fuck off. Stampede was always a lot of like rich people LARPing as rednecks. And even now it's like, oh, dude, they're doing this thing. Which it looks kind of cool and it's very Canadian, but you can already tell it's like very gentrified. It's a bunch of rich skiers getting tugged behind. Somebody's riding a horse and they're towing a skier, and the skier takes a jump off a hill while the horse is tugging him through. It's very cool to watch, but you look at you're like, this is not redneck stuff at all. You know what rednecks do? They get on the ski hill with an inner tube from a skidder, like a skidder tire inner tube, which is huge. You put like 5 of you on it, and then you just go down the mountain. And it's like a black diamond mountain, and you're just taking an inner tube down there. So it bounces off all the rocks, flips you guys over. I'm surprised more of us didn't die. And it's not like you had to go far. Every town, every small town, and every city in BC had a ski hill in the town. Like Kamloops had Sun Peaks. I can't remember any of the names. Whistler had something like Wake Beach, or no, Wake was a beach. Anyways, but every little town had its own little ski hill. They were just like normal ski hills, maybe 1 or 2 runs, but yeah, you just take an inner tube down. That was pretty crazy stuff. So one thing for sure is that all rednecks have in common 4-wheel drive. You know what's funny? Yes and no. Like, yes, a lot of people did. I did. I had my 1-ton Chevy 4-wheel drive. But a lot of guys ended up having these like really shitty 2-wheel drive, don't give a fucks. Like your Suzuki Sidekicks or your like a Jeep YJ or whatever, which I don't think maybe they were 4-wheel drive. But sometimes it was just like, I didn't need 4-wheel drive. If this thing crashes and gets stuck in the mud, I'll just leave it there. Because it was just some cheap $500 crap car. And you're like, whatever. They were the most fun. Take those out to the sawdust piles, which is like the runoff from the pulp mill in your town. You just take them to the sawdust pile, start jumping over hills, and then the back end just falls off. You just put it back on. Kamloops is a breakfast cereal. Yeah, I don't know what it's like anymore. I've been to the West Coast. I think I went down there a couple months back, and it was to see family and friends. So I was mostly Vancouver Island and like Kelowna and that, but it's weird. Every place is different. Like I haven't lived in BC for like 10 years. I go back. I used to be able, when I'd go back to a city I haven't been to, still drive and get around, but they look completely different. Like I don't recognize the towns anymore. I can't travel in them. Ooh, Nissan Frontier, good choice. Chevy Beretta, another good choice. I know the old Jeep Cherokees, the Nissan Frontier, the Chevy Beretta, those Datsuns, and for some reason the really small Toyotas. I can't remember what the Toyota truck was. The one that they always put the 50 cal slapped on. Everybody loved those ones because they were like indestructible. Yeah, get a tractor tire that's upright, hop in and roll down the hill redneck style. Oh, dude, we never did that. But I know exactly what you're talking about. But keep in mind, tractor tires, they're not the size of a skidder tire. Tractor tires are small. Like, you can fit in one. A skidder tire, it's as tall as you are. And it's as wide as, well, I mean, if you're from America, it's as wide as you are, as your dad is. It's just crazy. Anyways, this has nothing to do with the topic, by the way. Let's switch pace. It's all fun. The point of all of this was eventually, until we got sidetracked, was that there's two types of men. There's the ones that take calculated risks, which it turns out risk-taking is a very masculine ability and trait. You'd never think it, but calculated risk. And it was just one of those fish don't know what water is like situations. I know when I was growing up, it was just things you did. And I was like a very, in the redneck scheme of things, I was like the wimpy kid. But to talk about it now, it sounded like I was Superman. I'm like, dude, no. Until you have a friend that runs through a barbed wire fence. Like, you don't know what tough is. I've seen real tough men, and I was like, Jesus. See, yeah, and this is an aspect of it. This was one of this week's Substack articles. I've had more spare time now that it's mostly marketing the books. I haven't started the new one yet. So it gives me a lot more time for writing stuff that I've been meaning to get around to, which is awesome. Yeah, men focus on the odds, women focus on the stakes. So it's one of those things where if you wonder how like, what do you bring to the table? Remember that whole fiasco for like 6 months? What do you bring to the table? And it was always, Myron telling that to some ratchet ass hoe. What do you bring to the table? First off, I mean, I get it. It's rabble rousing. Like, hey, you guys can't get laid. How about I yell at the chicks that won't fuck you? Or like, guys are like, yeah, take my money, motherfucker. But it's a stupid question because A, it's not answering the question you think it's answering. I think you're asking you, like, why would I want to date you? What is it you give me that makes it worth it? But all you're doing is exposing that people don't know what the hell they even offer. Like, where is your value? Nobody knows. I thought it was intuitive, but it's not. And granted, there was a few things that I never thought of until coming to the red pill, like risk tolerance. I didn't think of it at all. Didn't cross my mind. Then you're in a relationship, and your girl sees you just do some random risky stuff because something's got to get done. Oh, my car won't start. Well, push start it. What are you going to do? Oh, I'm just going to put my car on a hill and push it down, then run up and get into it and start it. And it works. And she gets to the party on time. She's like, Jesus, I never would have thought of throwing my car down a hill and then racing to catch it. You're amazing. You're amazing. Just little things you wouldn't even think of. And it makes sense once you kind of get into the weeds and you see about how women are more neurotic than men by an order of magnitude. So when you think, what is it you offer? A guy would never think, well, I'm willing to do the stuff that terrifies the shit out of you, and I won't even flip. I won't even worry about it. I'm not even going to cry. You don't even think of that as a skill, but then you look at it from a girl's perspective, which is an empathetic thing, and you're like, oh my God, this guy was just amazing. He cheated death again. And you're like, I just killed the mouse in the house. What the hell? But yeah, Myron and his group never would have thought to answer it that way. I'm more emotionally stable, and it takes a lot more to freak me out than you, madam. Oh dear God, let me drop your pants, sir. Drop your Fresh and Fit branded jogging pants right now in the street. Nope. It's still there. The mane is still here. If anything, I haven't shaved this week. So that's the one thing. But I'm going to be shaving tonight. So don't worry about that. Don't worry. The hair's not going anywhere. If I do cut it, I need to get some good shots in first because it's still not where I want it to be. I regret, man. After COVID, when I cut it the first time, it was right as I got that perfect mullet look that I wanted. And then I did it for like a month, and I'm like, all right, now I'm done. And then I got rid of it. I'm like, that was 2 years of just wasted time. So yeah, it's little things like that. And then little things like, what does the girl offer you? What does she bring to the table? And obviously there's sex. But sex isn't even a thing you bring to the table in relationships. That's kind of like an entrance exam. It's supposed to be taken such for granted that, like, by the time you even have to ask this question, sex has already happened, and that's been established. Thank feminism for that. That's the whole disillusion of the classical dating, blah, 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 blah. Ryan would love the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. I did love the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. Season 5, I think that's the one where the Stark chick went into the Assassin's Temple. That's the last episode I watched. I stopped after then. No real reason. It was just like, I'm over it. I've noticed that now, and I just don't want to do things. I just don't do them anymore. Anyways, so back to the superpowers. Like, and this is like a really weird one, but a social calendar would never cross a guy's mind. Hey, to maintain my friendships, why not send them Christmas cards every year? Why not send, this and that and the other? And like, why don't I just call them occasionally? We never do this stuff. We just never do. And a girl would never even think, hey, that's a thing I can offer, is that I'm so socially sensitive that I am keeping all of these little social fires burning for us. You're like, man, that's actually pretty nice. There's some guys that do that now, but again, there's 2 types of men. There's the alpha fucks and there's the beta bucks. And that's the worst part, is the guys who get really good at replacing the female tasks in their life are no different than the girls who get like a good job and become ball busting boss bitches and then look for a man to fill the void in their hole. It's like, dude, men have become broken women and women have become broken men. It's like, women, you were told you could be anything, and you decided to be an alcoholic, a workaholic, sexaholic, ornery, acerbic, bitchy, needlessly aggressive bitch. And it's like, why? Why was it worth it? Just because the guy in high school wasn't doing it for you? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, you guys are on the Game of Thrones thing still. So, Prax 4, I almost called it Praxeology 5. Prax 4 was kind of on the other side of things. And the guy I loved in there was Frenchie. Frenchie would, every couple months, he'd have a new French username and a new story. He's probably one of my favorites. He and the Litz. The Litz I talked about in Dread a lot, because he was probably the best when it came to like really good case study of his own field reports and that. Like, he knew how to do his job properly, and it was just wonderful. Frenchie was the same, but Frenchie, it's harder to talk about him because I can remember a lot, and he didn't write a lot. He actually, because he was in his 50s. He was already a successful lawyer or something like that, or had his own business. He had his wife apparently came from money, and they were married, high school sweethearts, stayed married their whole life. And then in his 50s, she died of cancer, which sucks. And to him, she was just perfect. So he literally found the unicorn. And this is like one of the first things, just from like a meta, why I love this story, is that he did everything that everybody says is like the aspiration. He made himself a fortune. He's an awesome entrepreneur. He runs his own business. He married a wealthy girl. She doesn't care about money. She doesn't need money. She just wanted him. They met in like high school or college or something like that. They stayed married for an entire lifetime. And then bam, way too early, he's in the same boat, the same space as the dude whose like wife hasn't slept with him in a decade, and he's a piece of shit. Like all the beta male stuff you guys think of. And like, he and Frenchie are now sitting in the same room with the exact same problem. I found that fascinating. Everybody's talking about all the red pills just for sexless losers. I'm like, no, not really. You would be surprised. Like, the only thing keeping you from here, the only thing keeping you out of this shithole is like 1 or 2 bad decisions or 1 or 2 bad events that are completely outside your control. Like, you know how many guys were here not because they weren't awesome, but because the economy changed? Guys who were running construction companies in 2008. Oh, dude, it was a bloodbath out there. Guys had wives that were used to the good life. Then all of a sudden, that whole 2008 residential construction industry just decimated. And now, bam, it's gone. You know what I mean? And they knew, like, I know how to get chicks, and they would get a lot of guys got divorced, and sure, they're sleeping around, getting other girls, and then they get married to the first one because it's like, whatever, you got to do something with your life, right? And then they find out they're in the same problems they had before. But if you were to talk to any other, and they thought the red pill shit was ridiculous, like, you guys are retarded. How do you not know this stuff? And it's like, well, I don't know. How do you not know how to handle your wife's neuroticism without turning her into a spaz? Turns out yelling at her is not the best approach. Doesn't solve the problem, makes you feel better. Just whatever, just fucking do it. It's like, all right, just draw the owl. So I enjoyed it. You see it. It's the same thing. Doesn't matter if you're top of your game or bottom of your game. You're still in the same spot as everybody else, which is great for two reasons. One, that means no matter what happens to us, there's a limited set of solutions for it, which is awesome. It gives the red pill a certain level of containment. Like, there's only so many things you need to do in life as a guy to do the things you want to do in life as a guy. Thank God for that. Imagine if this was like a fractal pattern of like constantly having to do something else. Like, no, man. It's pretty straightforward. Cultivate the qualities in a man that allow you to get the things you want in life. Constantly go on a journey of discovering what it is you want, adjusting as you see fit. Understand that things are outside your control and learn to have a level of do not give a fuck, a cynicism, and an aloofness, however you want to put it, so that when things happen, you don't get rattled, because you being the calm center in the storm, that leader of men thing that everybody likes to LARP about, if you can actually live that, it's like, oh, things that are bad aren't that bad. Even the bad things aren't that bad. So he's back to Frenchie. His wife died. Horrible situation. She was perfect. Now, granted, I can see she probably wasn't as great as he thought she was. Maybe 80% is good. But that's the point. When somebody dies and you get like a halcyonic view of what they were like, oh, they were just the best, it was perfect, and everything was the greatest. That's not the problem, though. The problem he had then is the same problem that the loser guys who don't get laid and start developing a dislike for, like, oh, these bitches all reject me, so I'm going to reject them first. And they kind of, that's where everybody says, oh, you just hate women. It's like, no, it's clearly he doesn't like rejection. Frenchie kind of had that, but from a different angle. So that anytime and his wife was like, you need to meet other people. You got 50 more years to live. I don't want you to sit here pining for me. I think it's horrible. He's like, all right, fair enough. And every time he met a girl, he was comparing them to his widow, his wife, or whatever. I don't know what the term is for, like, I don't want to say his dead wife. It sounds very crass, and I'm not trying to be it that way. So every girl he met, he'd compare to her, and they never met up. They never matched up. They were loud. Like, you've seen modern women. He met so it's like 50 years ago. It would have been 40 years ago today. So like in the 80s, early 80s. You know what kind of girls were in the early 80s. You call her mom. And then he started to date girls in like 2010. It's like, oh my God. What the fuck? Late wife, thank you. This girl's loud and obnoxious. This one's horrible with money. This one's not cultured at all. She's crass. This one cut her hair into a pixie. Like, none of the girls ever could match up. And even ones that were like good. This would have been great company. She's very easygoing, whatever, but she's just not the same as the late wife. So how is that any different than a guy who's like so afraid of rejection he pre-rejects girls and is like yells at chicks on his podcast? Not really. Fundamentally, it comes from the same place. Girls not meeting some expectations as like a buffer. And so he kind of had to do what everybody else does. Enjoy a hate fuck, you know? Hey, it turns out you don't have to like girls to sleep with them. And he was like the personification of Rollo's first year statement is when he says, like, the red pill is not about hating women for what they can't be, but it's learning to like them for what they are. I think I got that right. I might have got the term a little wrong. We're all horrid little girls. I mean, compared, like, if a man looks at you, and that's the problem, is we have this like blank slate equalism gnawing at our little brainstem, and so we look at women as if they were one of our buddies and one of our guys. And as a guy, women do things that guys find absolutely annoying and absolutely abhorrent and completely ridiculous. And then of course you're going to get irritated at them. They're like the worst dudes on the planet. But you got to stop that. And that's kind of where Frenchie and the average lovable loser came from. You have to learn to stop thinking of them as men. Stop comparing them to the perfect woman that's in your head that they'll never match up to. Just, what are they? I don't know. They smell like BO sometimes, and they're very bad with money, but it's like, that's just what they are. And then he found his own little niche of happiness. He actually ran plates, which I found hilarious. And it was actually the inspiration for the advice I gave Jack Murphy that he roundly disagreed with back during the convention days that shall not be named. We were talking, it would have been 2018 in the Florida Orlando convention that shall not be named. And he had like one of his nails were painted black, and I was like, what's that? And he's like, daughter did it. And I'm like, oh, that's fair. It's cool. I guess the kids like painting dad's nails. I don't know. And that was where we kind of had chats. And I told you about it last week where he was telling me, it's like, yeah, all this alpha male stuff, like that's great. But keep in mind, we're like swingers, the old lady and I. So it's like, I already have an abundance of alpha and tons of anxiety. So I have to be a bit of a beta male or a simp to like balance things out. I'm like, interesting. Never thought of that, but that makes perfect sense. But my advice for him, because he was worried about this. He's like, I don't know, fuck it, if it ever gets out, this is like kind of annoying. I'm trying to do the trad thing. I'm like, look, like you don't have to apologize for it. You don't even have to hide from it. You don't have to cheerlead it, but like, look at you. And kind of gave me the rundown of his life. You know, the same thing. The high school sweetheart, got married, had kids, coached Little League, got divorced. Wife took the kids away from him, shit like that, right? And I'm like, when it comes to that trad lifestyle, you've basically given your pound of flesh. You've done everything. And if you're like, you know what? I did everything I was supposed to do for God and country. And now if I want to live like a degenerate asshole, that's my right. I've already given you guys everything. Now his response to that was to yell at Sydney Watson and call her a cunt. But, you know, you can only help people who want to be helped. Free Gender 930 $10.50 super chat. I wish you actually had a call-in number. 45 seconds in the past, so if somebody says something stupid, you can end the call and no one will hear it on the live stream. Same technique as the radio. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about, and that's why I hate, like, Donovan. I remember he used to do those call-in shows. I didn't like them because it adds an element of instability. Not that I don't want to, like, I want to run the... It's not that. It's, no offense to you guys, but there at least one of you really sucks on a live stream. I mean, like, really sucks. And I'm not just talking, like, your speaking voice is off or, like, that's whatever. It's like, haven't considered that having your phone on speaker while trying to talk and have a conversation, and then all you get is that feedback loop of the speaker feeding off the microphone, just turning everything into a loud wail. And then when you tell the guy, like, turn off your speaker, they're confused and then they don't know how, so they like make it worse. And I'm not even saying this like you guys are dumb, because that's not a dumb thing. We had S Curve Much on here, one of the old Married Red Pill guys. He was a lawyer, or not a lawyer, doctor. Educated man, really good with chicks. Speakerphone on his phone on the live stream. That was brutal. So I hate that. But here's the thing. You're like, yeah, you can end the call if somebody does something stupid, nobody heard it on the live stream. That's fine. Then the problem is you have to have a Jamie. You have to have a handler in the background doing all this stuff. You have to have like a whole setup here where it has like a 2-minute delay so you can kind of keep things going. Kind of like the instant replay for sports. And all that costs money. Like for the benefit you'd get for live call-ins, the amount of money it would cost for the additional support staff and that is just not worth it. At least not until you're getting Tim Pool, like 30,000 people on a live stream numbers, which I don't even know if that was real. I don't know what's real anymore. Knowing how easy it is to fake views and fake watch time and fake influence. It's like Cody Clark. He's a filmmaker I follow on Twitter, and he brought it up. It was like a very good point. It's like anything that's put in front of your eyes, like 95% of it, somebody is paid to put it there. There is no organic anything anymore. Everything is AstroTurf, which is so fucking annoying. Anyways, yeah, the call-in stuff would be kind of neat. I know you're basically married, but do you think women are getting worse? I mean, define worse. Because that really is what matters, how you define things. Because, like, worse. Women are putting out easier than ever. I'm not trying to do like, oh, back in my day, my day wasn't that long ago. But there's guys whose day was long ago. Like in the 90s, you had to do this. And I'm like, geez, I remember the 90s and the 2000s. And the beginning of the 2010s or whatever year it was. Actually, yeah, because I think I didn't settle down to like 2011 or something like that. Yes, because that was when we moved to Montreal. Anyways. Yeah, so like, oh, dude, if you want to get laid, it's the best time ever. Well, you can't be talking about divorces. Divorces are going down. Granted, that's because marriages are also going down. So it's not like women are any worse now than they were in the 80s when they were dumping men hand over fist. I know it's one of those things you see where every time people complain about something that happens now, you can go and you find the exact same complaint in the 1920s. You know? Oh, those, like, what's the difference between a flapper girl and an OnlyFans model? Basically the haircut, the makeup, and whether you have a cartoon. Like, at least the flapper girls had Betty Boop. I don't think there's some like OnlyFans cartoon out there. So when you say worse, what does that mean? Oh, they're more likely to leave you. They're more materialistic. It's like they always were. There just wasn't as much material out there as there is now. So it's like girls in the 1800s were super materialistic, but they're like, I want a man who owns a wood bench. Back then, I was like, holy shit, he's got a wood bench. As opposed to my deadbeat husband who has a stump. he's just writing his memoirs on a quill pen on a stump. What a loser. Why can't he get a workbench like a real man? It's like, what the hell? Oh no, but these young chicks, they act so like their shit don't stink. Oh really? You don't think young attractive women acted invincible in the 2010s or the 2000s or the 90s or the 80s? It's like, dude. I don't know if I ever told the story, but where I ended up at a Hell's Angels party by accident after I just finished basic training. It terrified the shit out of me. My older sister at the time, though, this was like, I don't know, 2003, 2004, somewhere around there, in the early 2000s. It was war and terror time. She didn't get invited, even though I was there because I had to meet her new boyfriend and his new buddy. And they all took me out, and they kept her at home because like she's going to get us killed. She acted invincible. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed psychopath. Nurse type. They're like, yeah, you leave her at home. Yes, sir, let's go. So when you say, are women getting worse, what does that even mean? I don't think they're getting worse. I think people are getting about the same as they've always gotten. The only difference is the flavor. You know? Because, like, there's problems now. Like, oh, do you have to check if your girl's an OnlyFans account? Back in the day, you were like, I have to check to make sure everybody in town hasn't slept with her before me. It was like the scale was different. But fundamentally, it's the same concerns. I don't want to be with a girl that the entire world laughs at me for being with her and having to put all this effort into her when everybody else was just getting it for free. That's ultimately the thing. I don't want to be embarrassed by it. You know what's funny, too? It's never about, like, her. It's always about the him. It's not so much funny because we understand it now because we all have frame. But, yeah, it's never, well, she slept with a bunch of dudes, so now she's going to cheat on me. Like, guys are saying that now, but they don't believe it. They don't believe it. They just... Rolo sent them a chart, and now they got the chart. And the chart's like, oh, that's a way better explanation than what I'm thinking in my heart. Because we always have two reasons for doing anything. There's the reason we tell everybody, and there's the reason we don't. And the reason we don't is because we're always worried then about being embarrassed. Somebody's making fun of us. Oh, you slept with a girl that slept with other people. You're such a loser. Like, oh, man, why couldn't I got a virgin? Because then nobody can make fun of me. No, man, I swear, it's because the chart. Haven't you seen the divorce chart? It's like, dude, divorce is already a coin flip. A coin flip if you even stay married. And if you do get married, it's another coin flip to see if you're happily married. You know how hard it is to win 2 coin flips in a row? It's fucking hard, man. So what does that mean? Are women getting worse? I don't think they're getting anything. I think a lot of guys are getting worse, but it's a different kind of worse. It's not worse as in like we were great and then we're not. Because I'm old enough to remember like the boomers watching them fuck up their relationships. It's not like we're better than that. But we got different problems. Like I don't like my wife, she's a bitch, so I'm gonna start drinking and getting violent and like smacking her around and yelling. It's like, yeah, that was that shit. I have no idea how to deal with this, so I'm just gonna break a table. Not the workbench. That's the boomer situation. And then we're like, I'm never going to be like my dad again. I'm going to do the dishes and iron the clothes. And why'd she cheat on me? So it's like, are we worse? Or are we just different worse? If anything, women have been pretty much the same as they've always been. The guys are just floundering around because you can't have guys get together and talk about what the hell's going wrong and then what we've done to solve it. And then I'm still mad about the Andrew Tate, Myron, Clavicar, Sneeko, like that shit. Because they just destroyed it. Everybody was always about fighting feminism. Dude, the monsters are inside the house. They're always inside the house. Free Gender 930 with a $10 super chat. I wish we would calculate women who have babies with multiple different men as divorces. That would give us more true number. Children should be the rankings of divorce nowadays. Well, I'm going to disagree, but... Or maybe not. I don't know if I am or not. Why? Like, first off, why do we do this? What is it we're actually calculating? Calculate men who have babies. Are you calculating fathers who are in their kids' lives? Is that it? Like, if you get to be a father living with your son, is that the metric of success? I don't know. I don't think so. Right now, about half the kids that are adults now and half the kids out there aren't living with their dad, or aren't living with, mostly not living with their dad, but some aren't living with their mom because, mom loses kids too nowadays. We're shooting for equality. She just realized, do you not have a bad you have to act? You have to do like crack in the courthouse to lose your custody. I have to go toe to toe with an ICE agent to lose my kids these days. It's brutal. But what does it matter if we find out what the rankings are for divorce? Is that going to change our behavior? This is like the same problem I have with Vox's stuff. Everybody is so intent on calculating and statisticizing and infographicing things that they aren't just paying the fuck attention to what's around them. Like, we obviously know what it is we're trying to deal with here. I just keep thinking Rollo's stupid thing. I want to say happiness. But then I keep thinking of Rollo's stupid speech about proximal happiness versus ultimate or whatever. So maybe I'll just say contentment. Contentment. Guys and girls want to live with guys and girls in, for a most part, lifelong relationship. Right? We're kind of built for that, sure. Getting cheated on really isn't very content. Cheating on somebody, it's probably because you're not very content. Kids not having their parents around probably doesn't make them very content. We're shooting for contentment here. But and then the worst part is, like, I don't know if you'd want to even measure that, because I've watched enough tech bros working in the game industry who are like, the amount of time person's spending on joystick has become their metric. And they just ruin games with it, Games aren't even fun anymore. They said this. There was like a GDC conference back in 2013 where they're like, games aren't meant to be fun. They're meant to be compulsive. And that's when the gambling simulator thing took off. So if we start properly calculating all of this stuff to get us to that realm of contentment, we're just going to have some stupid gamified tech bro version of relationships, which is just going to be fucking miserable. Am I saying I want it to be forever hidden away? I'm like, no, we just need to like be aware of the metric, but we can't make it the metric. As soon as you make something the metric, you maximize it. And then as soon as you maximize it, you lose what made it useful in the first place. That's my opinion. That's kind of what I meant by we disagree. Hey, Ryan, what happened to your blog? My Booksmark led to nothing. I wasn't around for a bit, and the uploads are more rare. Just curious. I liked Orion stuff with the movies. $4.99 respectively. Fair. I'm not sure which blog you're talking about, because I feel bad in that I'm constantly, so like I originally had like a blogger one, like, the old YouTube Google. That was my first one when I was still like on the Reddit, and that's just I got rid of that because I'm like, this is incomprehensible. I could tell why everybody hated my writing back then, because it was just, the rule, one idea per sentence. I was like, I didn't want to be held back by that. It was just like, there was so much invisible stuff I've been thinking about in between the sentences that you couldn't read it. So I just got rid of it. And then I had one on the rhinestone.com, which was nice enough. And that was more of a prelude to getting Fuck Files and Praxeology Volume 1 out there, which I liked. And then I migrated everything over to Substack. And there has been where I mostly have kept it. Now, I'm pretty sure when you're like, what happened to your blog? If you're talking about the Substack one, there's been a couple things I've taken down because I want to reword and rework. So I feel bad if your bookmarks are gone. But if that's the case, just give me a couple months. I'm going to be rewriting them for better clarity and stuff like that. You've already seen examples. Like my new one on shut the fuck up versus shut the fuck up. That's the kind of quality control I'm getting there. And I'm going to, as best I can, get those ideas to a clarity standpoint. And I could make a Praxeology Volume 5 next year if I wanted to. Where it's kind of more just like a series of, an uncollected series of mental models. It's almost like a collection of essays type thing. And then as far as the uploads, I've just been extremely busy. Doing 2 books at once was probably stupid. And then plus the audiobook for the first one. So I just everything had to kind of be reprioritized. And the Orion channel and the Red Pill coffees and the gaming channel stuff, that all just had to take a back seat. In fairness though, YouTube really has been screwing the pooch when it came to like income. It was at the point where I was putting 5 times the amount of effort into YouTube for every dollar than I was into anything else, including Twitter. Twitter doesn't pay great, but it doesn't ask much of me either. Twitter's like $50 a month, so it's like beer money. So yeah, so the videos I want, and I've still got it sitting in there in my thing, the Cheech Marin's Born in East LA video. I got to finish the script on that, so it's due. But now, like, everything's kind of cleaning up. By the time Ghost of Odessa and Prax 4 get released, the schedule will be free and clear, so I can actually start up this stuff again. So it'll be great. It'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. That's why we're doing renovations here, getting the office all prettified up. I think you'll like the new changes. Then we got James 6656 with a $10.42 super chat. With the increased communication technology, women have now exponentially more points of comparison. Well, see, that's when we're talking, like, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about, and it's something we had to worry about back when I was working in information security as well. It's going to get like a weirdly like technical, not sexual references here, but you'll get it. Where before, when we wanted to secure things, we would have what's called a perimeter defense. You knew how many things you have exposed to the open internet or how many things you have exposed to access control. So if somebody wanted to break into your place, there's a door or 2 doors. That's part of your perimeter. And then you would just protect your perimeter and then assume the inside is secure. And then from the inside, you do what's called envelope security. So there's like it's been a while if I get some of the terms wrong. If anybody here has like their InfoSec stuff, don't get mad at me. The envelope was a reception area, inner area, secret area. And that's the idea is that you have to, and each one would have differing levels of security. They call it the one reception area because it's the same. Just think of a building. You walk into a building, there's a guy at the door, greet you. Hello, sir, how can I help you? That will protect you against opportunists, but it won't protect you against somebody who wants to steal something. But that's the only security you need there, and it's very cheap and very easy to implement. And then, increasing levels of security till you get to your core. Unfortunately, the way the internet is now, with those exponentially more points of comparison and communication and entrance and that, you can no longer do a perimeter. You can't. And so we've had to switch to, at least this is what I was trained with CSIS, my glowy degree, my glowy certifications, is to understand assets. And that's where you do harmonized threat and risk assessments. And this is so in a relationship, and I don't want to make this comparison like you should do this. I'm using it as an illustrative example. What does a girl have that has value? Her self-worth, her attractiveness, being thin, like all that stuff, right? And you picture each one individually. What are the attack vectors? Like what can be attacked? And here, the points of comparison, the Instagram thing, the inflated sense of women's worth is because they're comparing themselves to the highlight reel of everybody around them, and the people around them has increased exponentially. So that's the risk and that's the threat. So what's the potential damage? The damage is girls get an inflated sense of self, and the likelihood of it is very high. Didn't happen as much back in the day, but back in the day, guys didn't have those same exponentially points of comparison in order to build things. Like I could not be Ryan Stone in 2000 8. I couldn't. It just didn't exist. The technology didn't exist. 1,000 hours of YouTube video content, information, entertainment, infotainment, that couldn't exist. 5 or 6 different streams of income across books and audiobooks. There was no Amazon, not like it is now. There's no Kindle, not like it is now. There's no Audible, not like it is now. So yeah, and I think it works both ways. Yeah, it would have been nice if we could have all of the multiple streams of income online, build a VLAN, because like you guys are all over the world. There's what, 2,000 people that watch these things every week, 2,500? I guarantee you there's not more than 10 of you in the same city. So if I was like pre-2007 Ryan, at the most, I got 10 customers. That's not sustainable at all. So yeah, it's just one of those things you got to deal with. The game is different. Arguably, the stakes are higher, but the opportunities are higher too. And that's why guys are having trouble. It's not because guys are getting worse or because girls are getting worse. It's because things are changing quickly. The real skill to have in 2026 is versatility, is velocity, is agility. You know those little buzzwords? That just basically means when things are changing, you being able to keep up and adapt. I learned this back in the 2000s when I was in the military still, because we were at a trade called Naval Communications, which was it was a new trade. It only existed since the 1990s. Before then, there was signalmen and radio operators, signalmen and sparkers. And then before then, because my father-in-law, I guess he was one of the other ones. There's like a telecom version of it too. So like the trade is advanced as technology advanced. But here's the thing. Oh, and we picked up IT and information security. So it was like 4 jobs in the military. And there was too much to learn to do any one of them. The older guys, they would know the one job. They just know signalman. They just know sparker. And they were 100%. They knew everything off the top of their head. They were very switched on. But you put an old signalman in the CCR and he would be confused by the machines. You put an old sparker up on the bridge and he'd be confused. So the new guys, we had to learn to recall, not remember, which is a form of navigating or changing or velocity or agility or whatever you want to use. I wasn't meant to remember everything. I was meant to be able to know where to find anything, and that's a different skill. So case in point, I always got thrown on the bridge, mostly because my boss found me annoying, which is fine. I got really good at the bridge. You got to get good at, there's like flag hoists, communications, there's radio communications, there's ship-shore traffic, there's navigation commands for command. Like command, you're like the eyes and ears, or you're the ears of the ship. So when you're communicating with other ships, your job is to keep it from bashing into each other. Your senior navcom's the only one who's got a direct line of communication with the captain too. So there's all these kind of things to deal with here. And like there's the radios up top and having to know all the EM radiation stuff. I'm not here to bore you with the details. The point is that was my job for like my first year on ship. And then one of the guys below, the Weber guy, the one I made fun of that I slept with his fiancée during the stag in Fuck Files. He was always sent down there because he was compliant. He always did what he was told. And he always used to laugh at me. He's like, oh, you're never going to figure this stuff out. But that's the thing. I've never worked in that space, but I got down in there. I remember where to find it. So if I didn't know how to set up a circuit, how to use the WAD system, the black patch panels and stuff, I knew where to go. And so every time I had to do something new, I just knew where to look. And then I was able to very confidently run the shack within like a month. It's not because I'm smarter. It's because we had that skill of adaptability, which has been useful for me here with the red pill stuff, because this is all that matters, is that navigation. I really took that part seriously, which I wish more people would. The whole point of the red pill is not to fight feminism or to defeat the fucking Democrats or any of that shit. It's just shit's changing. You better get used to navigating this change. You have to know where to look. And it's even now when I'm doing the workshop, somebody will talk about something useful, and this reminds me of something. And I'll remember where to go look to find it. I can't remember off the top of my head every single Royce article, but if you give me a couple keywords, I'll know what I'm looking for, and I'll know when I find it. And that's the skill nowadays. Same thing here. You don't know everything about women all the time, but you get put in enough situations, you can remember the key points. The key points. You'll be able to know where to go That's great. Free Gender 930, $2 super chat. Thank you, sir, for showing me the forest through the trees. Hey, no worries. Like I said, it's a what's the beneficial version of parasitic? It's that. It's an equal value trade. I sit here and entertain and inform you as best I can, and you guys support me, and I think it's a great relationship so long as both of us are doing our part. And I'd like to think we both are. Clutch Cargo, $9.99 super chat. Women have always been like that. Problem, women's nature hasn't changed. There are no boundaries holding that nature back anymore. Pill, credit, voting, guilt-free promiscuity, jobs, HR, backup. Yeah, you're not wrong. Oh my God, sugar has created easy calories and people are getting fatter. What do we do? Sugar's been around since the 1800s. Pure sugar. Yet for some reason, people have figured out how not to be fat. This is it. I had a metaphor I used where I called it sexual diabetes or intersexual diabetes. It's the same concept. Back in the day, if we wanted to eat something sweet, we had to chew on a sugar cane for 20 minutes. We had to melt beetroots. We had to get honey off of bees. Things were very difficult. And then all of a sudden, chocolate cake was like a box and an egg in 10 minutes. Nowadays, they'll even cook the cake for you. You just got to grab it and shove it in your mouth. You have access to more calories than anybody in human history. I can go out right now with $100, go down to the Rabba across the street, and eat 100,000 calories in one sitting. It's such a densely packed calorie thing. So now that we don't have that stopgap, that physical preventing us from overeating and killing ourselves, and it does kill people. Diabetes is like the one thing when they decide whether a country has gone from the developing world to the developed world is the cases of diabetes have to cross past a Thurston threshold. That's literally it. Isn't that funny? The metric on whether we become successful as a species, whether we can eat ourselves to death or not. This is the same thing sexually. We have created granulated sugar for sexual dynamics. You don't want to get diabetes. You don't want to get fat. Well, here's some things you can do. So, yeah, they're not holding women back anymore, but that's the thing. They're not holding men back anymore either. We're more free than we've ever been. Back in the day, if you accidentally knocked a girl up, sometimes you even just slept with one. They used to put a gun in your back and tell you to marry their daughter. They don't do that shit anymore. The daughter won't even tell you she got knocked up. She'll just go deal with it, and then you'll never hear from her again. How crazy is that? Never in human history have we been able to do that. So yeah. It's all a matter of perspective. How do you look at it? And yeah, if you don't want things to change, you like things the way they were, and you're very good at that old set of rules, absolutely this kind of shit pisses you off. It does. But, I don't know. Sugar's out now. Get on the treadmill, you fat fuck. It's like, what else do you want to be today? Ross the Skunk, $5 super chat. Isn't the widowed guy out of frame comparing the gals to the dead wife instead of I do and can tolerate the chick? Well, he was. And that's kind of the point of the book. Is he was learning to just enjoy them for what they were and stop doing the comparisons. And he ended up having a, couple girls and a couple towns. He'd go vacation with his kids and girl would be there, and he'd go live on a ski range for the rest of the year and a girl would be there. He figured it out. He's like, yeah, none of these girls are going to be as good as my wife, and that's okay. Or as my late wife, and that's okay. But, they're good for right now. They're pleasant company until I end up meeting her up in the afterlife. You know what I mean? But that's no different than any other guy. The guy who never got laid and finally learned to just let it go. The M3, Confessions of a Reformed Incel, and Frenchie are ultimately the same story. All right, Free Gender 930, $2 super chat. Read and chat. Would it be out of line for me to suggest that everybody here watches Togo? I mean, I don't think it'd be out of line unless Togo is gay porn, in which case, no shame. Watch it if you want to. But 2019 adventure drama. Something about wolves and Willem Dafoe. A dog sled who led the 1925 Sarum Run considered too small and weak to lead such intense race. Oh, so it's about like a runt sled dog that led a sled team. So it's like the Jamaican bobsled team, but for dogs. Hey, if you want to suggest it, go for it. I've had lots of hotties and they're all shit. The two I still think about were zero makeup, were invisible, and most men change, good looking perm. And like everybody goes through this. I've done it myself. Dated girls back when I was in college. They were like, "Yeah, I'm a model." I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." It's like one of the worst people I ever met. She was one of the hottest, at least from what I can remember. But just like, what else does she do? Absolutely nothing. She just sits there and looks hot. It's like having a Fabergé egg in your house. After a while, like the paperweight's really all it's good for. And I remember some of the most fun girls was just like, I'd sit there and I didn't even think I was making any progress. I didn't really care. I didn't think anything of it. She wasn't going out of her way to make herself presentable or anything like that. I was never, oh, boys, I'm totally going to get this. Like, there was no bragging in there. And it was just, I realized at the end of the night, she's still there. And it's like, all right, let's go. And it's like, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. You never know. You never know where value lies. That's the funniest thing. I think Nuke says it all the time. Where, he's like, there's nothing about a girl, the way she looks, the way she talks, the way she acts, that can give you any indication of how she is in bed. Like, none. There is zero correlation between any. It's literally a crapshoot. You have to hope for the best. I think it's funny. Because you'll never know. Guys used to have so many catchy terms, too. It's like, oh, yeah, the fat chicks, they're very appreciative. It's like, oh. Turns out they're just like any other one. Can you believe it? There's fat girls that starfish out there. What the hell, man? What are you doing? The whole point of being a slump buster is to really help make a guy feel better about himself. And you can't even put in that effort. You can't even put in the effort to be treat him like a Subway sandwich. Just go down on that thing. Nope. Oh, the hotter the girls, the better she is. Like, no, not necessarily. It's almost negatively correlated. The hottest girl, and I remember there was this old egghead science research on the amount of lifetime partners and attractiveness. Now, I know there's like a lot of like fuck up science trademark that you could throw onto that one, but I kind of buy the answer to it, which was the more attractive a girl is, the less she has to put out over her lifetime, and so the most attractive women had the least amount of lifetime partners. Which makes, because it makes sense to me, because I remember in high school, there was like the hottest girls in your high school, there's the average girls in your high school, and there's the less attractive girls in your high school. And all the less attractive girls were the ones that tended to marry first. They latched onto the first guy they found, they were there, they put out. The hottest girls kind of moved off, do their own thing, and the mid girls just kind of did what mid girls do. Why won't my buttons fasten? Fucking guys. That was a too funny one. Anyways, we haven't had some jokes around here. Let me see if I can find... Where was it? The one I was looking for. I haven't done it in forever.
We know that these videos really prey on vulnerable young men who have not had many experiences in dating.
No, that wasn't the one. Oh, it's this one.
We got to start to focus on the more important stuff now. We got to shift gears here. I don't want to do these pissing contests and, well, you know, people keep throwing out this bet. I mean, you guys all know this stuff already. I mean, Colty never accepted it. Colty's just like a piece of shit. I mean, basically that's what it is. He's a piece of shit. And if people want to question my honor and integrity, that's okay. Most of the people who do this stuff don't have any integrity. I'm not deleting my account because of that guy, Seth. I broke those contracts about a week and a half ago, and whatever, people are going to get pissed off at me. I don't care if they're going to get pissed off at me.
You know what's funny? Looking back on that, had he been the man of honor and deleted his account, and I can't remember what it was the bet over, to something about Trump. Had he done that, he wouldn't have been arrested, and he would still have had that great 6-figure job at the insurance agency, and he'd still be doing his Pat Stead and stuff like he is now. Let that be a lesson to you guys. Always keep your word, because you never know the chain of effects that's going to happen. If you make a bet with somebody to delete your account, if you don't do something and you don't delete your account, you will end up in a government honeypot psyop. Don't be that guy. Be better. Have honor. Don't be a piece of shit. I see another one of these reading chats. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll keep an eye out for it. But George 5367 $4.99 super chat. Can I get a sad Cappy couch? You can absolutely get a sad Cappy.
You can choose your misery with some pretty girl that whatever that you just. And I honestly find it. If your man is for you to say smart, probably because you're not satisfying I would encourage right. So exactly. Do not discredit intelligence of others. Please do not use that word.
But marrying or committing to? No, absolutely not. My son will, marry an accountant. Not one of my sons would I allow to even date one of you girls. Because you don't shut up. It has been fun. It has been an honor. We're going hiking.
Yes.
There you go, sad Cappy. Well, I saw this one. Yeah, to be fair, I want to be on Rule Zero again. It's just, it sucks because I took a break and my Saturdays, right after this show, I'm basically running out the door. And I've got a whole thing surrounding that now. So I want to get back in there. I just have to start rearranging some life stuff to carve out this 2 hours for more work. So that's on the to-do list. And January is the worst month ever. The worst month ever for that in here because it's basically winter. So I want to get on there more. And the plan is to sneak back, so we'll do it. Don't worry. It's like I said, it's the same thing I told you guys back in Rule Zero when Rich took off and John took off and John and Paul. It's people are going to come, people are going to go, and it's always going to be there, and there's going to be a new group, and there's going to be an old group, and things will happen. Don't even worry about it. The band is slowly getting back together. I think that is the best way to put it. It is true. But I think you guys forget, too, even back in the original cast, there was, everybody was busy. Everybody was doing shit. John was busy on his thing. John was busy on his thing. Paul was busy. Oh, this is before the Pauls. It was just John, Rich. No, it wasn't even, I don't even think Fitch was on there yet. Because Jack Murphy introduced us to Fitch, which is so funny. Which I always think, that's one of the best things Jack Murphy ever did for me. He introduced me to Don Fitch and getting him on his thing. But, restarting. It's always been there. It's just coming back. It was, Carl, Rich, John, MLD John, Rolo, and me. I think that was the 5, the original 5. And there was some weeks where it was guys would have months off and other guys would have months on, and everybody was just so busy. The whole reason that it existed was because it is very hard to stay in touch with other Red Pill content creators. It's really hard. And everybody at least everybody I know and have it associated with positively over the last couple of years, Jack and Nuke and all them, they all put out a shit ton of work. It's very prolific. I always just said Donovan, I forgot Donovan. But he always mentioned what's the goal of this thing? And I kind of said think about this, man. There's a lot of slop out there that nobody wants to watch that's got this pro-feminist troon propaganda shit. And everybody loves the Red Pill stuff. Imagine us having enough prolific work output that somebody can turn on the internet 24/7, 365 and always have something. There's always a new podcast on. There's always a new book. There's a new video. There's always something. The idea of us just saturating the Red Pill space. That was the goal. Now, Tate beat me to it when he's just how about you just get a bunch of guys on a multi-level marketing scheme and have them just upload the same clips. It wasn't quite to the quality level I was expecting, but he did manage to flood things. And for the most part, I'd say so. God knows, just from books alone, this year, or this last year, what did we get? Got Jack's on Women, had Praxeology Volume 3, had Softbone, Rolo's, was this book Revive out? Cappy had A World Without Men. It's 6 of them together right there. Not to mention Rule Zero, the Red Morning, the Red Evening, the Salt Lake City Sit Down with Rob and Chesty. There's a lot of work out there, and it's very hard to keep everybody together. So I liked the idea of Rule Zero being the home base. inspired by pickup. Remember when you went to the bar with your buddy back in the day? Am I aging? Am I unk for this one? You'd go to the bar with your buddy, and then you would do a round. In other words, you would just like walk around the bar, hit on anybody you could, see if you got any progress, come back, and then there was always the one table where all you guys sat at when you weren't actively working on some chicks. And I always liked the idea of Rule 0 being that table. And everybody's out hitting on girls otherwise. Why do we even know who Donovan Sharp is? I mean, I got a complicated opinion with Donovan's professional choices. When it came to like radio show stuff, he's very professional, very put together. Even Carl said, dude, he's never on stream when his beard is not on point. And using his chick dev selectively for engagement stuff, very, very effective. Kind of has like that Hulk Hogan problem where he bought into his mark. And that's something like Rolo warned me about with other people, is like sometimes you'll see guys who are online and there's like an online them and there's an offline them. Like Cappy, talk to Cappy, he's like a normal person. You wouldn't even know he did online work if you didn't know him. Same as me, we talk like normal people. And there's some guys that's just like you're talking to them and it's like the same person that's on the podcast. I don't like that so much. I don't like being talked at as opposed to talked to. Because you'll notice there's been a few times like MLD John's coming to town, Cappy's been here, and we've all kind of been floating around. I've hung out with Rich a couple times. Anytime we go out, like, do you want to take any pictures for the grant? Like, no, man, I don't want to take any pictures of this. We're hanging out. I just want to chat and not think about work. It's like the military. You get off of work and there's always that one guy who just can't shut the fuck up about work. And you're like, dude, I'm not sailing. I don't want to talk about sailing. I don't want to talk about officers. Like, do you have anything going on in your life that we could talk about otherwise? And most guys didn't. Oh, Robin Chest. Oh, look at that. Santi. Excellent. Robin Chest are working on another series as well. Well, that's the, is that the Nietzsche one or the religious one? Because both of them are good. I actually watch them. I don't chat anymore because every time I do, it distracts Rob, and I want to hear what Rob has to say. I don't want him to hear what I had to say. Yeah. Anyway, so that's from my thing with Donnie is like I just get the impression he's bought into his mark. And then John's just busy and he's halfway around the world, so it's just very hard to keep up as best I can with that. And same with Rich. Rich, his kids are just old enough now. I think he's got a really good chance of expatriation soon, and I'm rooting for it. Out of all the people I want to see get out of Canada, I would argue Rich is one of the ones, which I know sounds like a horrible thing to say, but in Canada, when you're telling, I hope you get the fuck out of here, is like the Goodwill Hunting version of that. Every day I wake up hoping I drive to your place and you ain't there. Anyways, link in the chat. It's been pinned to the top. Praxeology Volume 4. I think the title I gave it was, a second here. Even the best of men fall on hard times. And I think it works because it's something, and there's always been the hard part is like, I just don't want to come out with something. I want to at least put some level of thought and effort. Like I want to deliver things that work, right? And then to look at Prax 4, I'm like, well, what is it that this can offer that you don't get from from Frame, Dread, Fuck Files, or Field Reports, right? The audiobook's not out yet. I'll get to that in a second. And all of the stuff was kind of based on like starting from zero. How do you get to where you're going starting from zero? Or it's almost like a cultural anthropology thing. Like how did the red pill answer that question? As opposed to like, how do you answer that question? Because I don't like the idea of just telling people what to do. This is more like a textbook. This is what is done to get to here, and you pick and choose what you want out of any of them, right? Or you could just read it because you like seeing how the online space goes. That's fine. So I'm like, what does 4 offer that 3 didn't offer? Because it's still a lot of field reports, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what's the better thing about it? A little more of a narrative structure to it. Not huge, but a little bit more. But the understanding that it's not just the guy who started at 0 who's here. Some guys were 10 out of 10. And then they fell from grace, and they're here too. I enjoy that because they're the best because they know what the promised land looks like. When you get a Chad type character that fell on hard times and had bad stuff happen, he knows exactly what success looks like. You don't have to sell him on it. And that's the one thing that always annoyed me about and I don't know how else to say this without sounding like a prick, but losers. I mean losers in like the economic and sexual sense, not as in like a value judgment. Losers can't even believe, no, you don't get blowjobs in the bathroom at the bar. Fuck off. And so you have to convince them the shit happens. You have to have a guys telling all their stories of their conquests because these guys just don't believe that's even possible. You don't have a wife that gives you anal on the second weekends. What the hell is this? But you talk to these guys, they're like, oh, yeah, dude. And they'll have a story. It's like, I remember that. Yeah. You can still do that? And you're like, yeah. Oh. Well, how do you get there? And you start swapping some stories. Like, oh, no shit. Interesting. Funny how guys worship Chad as much as women. Chad is like a narrative. What do they call them? A narrative. It's a figment. Or a rhetorical device. That's what they call it. Or a narrative device. Chad doesn't exist. Chad is meant to be the epitome of all things that are considered alpha in the red pill. Because you can't say alpha male because that sounds cringe. So you just take everything that's alpha, everything that's sexually desirable, and you put it all into a person. And that person, you name him Chad. It's kind of like how I always have like Chad as the alpha and then Billy is in the beta. Like these are personifications. They're placeholder terms. Because then when you mention it, there should be, and it's a container word, everybody should immediately have an idea of all the things that encompasses. Like, what is everything that's involved in Chad? Well, it's everything that you would think of as alpha. Anything that's sexually desirable. You put it in there. The difference is, and I normally hate container words, this one's at least well enough defined. If it's sexually attractive, Chad does it. Well, that guy's a Chad. Yeah, he's not a Chad. It's like saying, oh, that guy's very pious. Well, he's not Jesus. Yeah, but you can say Christ-like. Yeah, but he's not Christ. That's okay. You kind of understand what we're getting at here, right? Go, Rich, go. Yeah. So that's this one. And like I said, the one thing I might do, I'm thinking about this. It's probably till tomorrow, so I don't think. I got to do a last-minute check on this stuff. But yeah, Frenchie isn't until like halfway through the book. Originally, when I wrote it, I put Frenchie at the very start as like a captivating introduction. But I'm like... I think it just works better there. Hopefully I'm right. We'll have to find out. But the reason I'm saying this is now because get in, grab a pre-order, grab a Kindle one. It's $10. Who fucking cares, right? Enjoy it when it first comes out. The paperback and the hardcover are coming out tomorrow, though. So feel free to enjoy that. And what I normally do is once the books come out, I give it 3 months before I release the audiobook. It helps give it a second wind, and it's easier to create the audiobook once the book is in a finished state because then you don't have to make any changes. It just saves you a lot of the hassle. Having said that, I am going to break my tradition for this one. I'm giving this to Jack to do the audiobook for. A, I like the idea of Jack having more stuff in his work catalog. B, I don't have the time that I would want to give it a proper justification for it, and Jack's the only other person I could trust with the material that would know how to read it properly and doesn't sound like a radio announcer voice. Like he still sounds like, and there's a certain vibe of audiobook that I like, and I'm not a big audiobook fan in general, but there's the radio play where it sounds like a radio personality reading it to you. Like it's a work, like a drama, it's a speech. And then there's one where like the artist is just reading you a book. Like my favorite audiobook example of this is Neuromancer. I don't know if you know the book. It's Gibson. But you read, like you go online and you look for Neuromancer, it's going to be a whole bunch of, this is radio blah, blah, blah. This is Neuromancer. And it just sounds ridiculous. But there's this old 90s tape recording that Gibson did for Neuromancer on his own. And he's got this California drawl to him that just makes the books, like you understand, because he's reading the book in his own voice. And I think it's just great. It's got like all the stutterings and all the cadence that the book has. It was one of those things because like I had a hard hell time reading Neuromancer. I was not a fan of it. Like the prose just eluded me. And then I heard the audiobook in Gibson's voice. And then all of a sudden the prose just clicked. Like I understand now. I'm reading it in his voice. And it makes a huge difference. Now I'm hoping that this works out the same way because Jack is the only one I can think of that'd be close to reading this in the same voice that I wrote it in. And that you guys get the same enjoyment from. I mean, everybody's always liked his stuff. Nobody's ever hated it, and he's probably the best red pill audio recording guy out there. So I think it's in good hands, is what I'm saying. I visited the house William Gibson lived in when he wrote Neuromancer. It's in. Oh, he was in Kits, dude. If you guys don't know, Kitsilano, it's like, I would say is about as close as like Vancouver's version of the Hamptons. Kitsilano. It never used to be, but yeah. And supposedly a lot of the jargon he invented in there was just listening to crackheads in Vancouver, and he just took their language, and that's how he wrote it. Philip K. Dick in Chinatown. That sucks now, man, because that Vancouver is dead and gone. You go to Vancouver now, and it's like the Indians and the Chinese have invaded, and they're trying to figure out which one of us gets to, NDPs, like, private property, not on my watch. And the courts are like, yep, sounds good. And everybody's like, why did $2 trillion leave the economy? BC is just fucked. The only industry there right now is retirement. That's the only industry there right now. This is good. I enjoy this. It's like, it's different. It's the marketing phase of books. I get to tell you why it's good. I get to get you excited about it. I get to be excited about it myself. It's easy to get you excited about it because I was excited about it. Being there, and I can't quite give you the same feeling that it was being there live. Like, I was there as, like, when Frenchie's late wife passed and his first date afterwards. And everybody at the time, like, we were all in the anger phase, or we were all in the 6 months of being an insufferable prick phase when we finally had it figured out. And after that, when we all calmed down. So it's like, there's a whole roller coaster. There's an epic narrative arc that every man goes through on his red pill thing. And this was like in the middle of my arc. And so, like, you can't go back. I can't go back again and re-experience it the same way again. I can articulate it as best I can so you can, but it's never going to be quite the same. And you guys are all going to have, there's like a Frenchie in every single one of your little red pill journeys too, which hopefully it was as interesting as mine was. Man taught me a lot. I still think it's one of the funniest things. Like, I probably wouldn't be here today doing this if it wasn't for him, because he was good at a great many things. It's just the getting over the late wife was the only one that he was missing. And that's, first off, that's where I started my whole, most guys know about 80% of what's in here anyway. It's nothing new. It's that 20%, and that every man has a different 20%. And he was one of the reasons that I kind of came to that conclusion, because it would be him, between me. There's a whole bunch of guys that were like better than me in so many different things. But then there was this, they were looking at us the same way. So we were all better than everybody else in certain things, but none of us was better than everybody in all things. And that was when I completely understood the idea of swapping notes being the most important part of this. Nobody here is perfect, but together we're perfect. What's that saying? Together we can be broken as a stick, but together we are the mighty faggot. Yeah, you don't do Instagram marketing? What the fuck is Instagram going to care about books for, man? Instagram's a visual language. Maybe I'm going to do some photography stuff on there. So there was that, and there was one of the other things, which is something I didn't know specifically, but he kind of got me onto. Is if you want to manipulate somebody, and I mean this in a positive way, like, I want somebody to be their best, is just start talking to them as if they already are their best, and they've already done the things that make them their best. And most people don't want to argue about you when you're glazing them in that way. It's a very mentorship kind of thing, which we kind of did that with the military, but not, we were never explained to it in that way. So it helped because some things click there. But anyways, Frenchie was a great influence on me, and I liked it. And I like to think I was a great influence on him, and he's since moved on. Yeah, I just wish I could get you guys to the same point I was at, because it really was. It was just good feels, man. So yeah, Praxeology Volume 4. It's going to be out tomorrow. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Yeah, Facebook. I'm trying, man. I can't do Facebook. The boomer of it just drives me nuts. And I'm told that it's actually a good idea for marketing fiction books is to use Facebook. Maybe what I'll do is take like 6 months off and learn Facebook again. Because I told you, I can't even get on my normal account, like my personal account. I had it back in the day when they first switched it over to, like, you don't need a university address. Because I lost my password. It's been too long. And now they're like, yeah, send us your driver's license and we'll reset your password. I'm like, fuck you, no. And then, well, you still have Messenger on your phone. I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's staying logged in until I get a new phone. Got a new phone this year, and That's it. My last connection to Facebook is gone. I haven't logged in like 5 years. I always like this one. Is there any of his own material again for the book, or did he just rob the Married Red Pill again? What did you think nonfiction was, man? Do you think it's people just inventing shit out of whole cloth? No, man, that's not how it works. The whole point of this, Rollo stuff is the same thing. His is a collection of SOSWAF stuff. But that's what all books are. You take all the things you've learned and you put them all together in a way that creates a narrative structure that allows people to glean information in a more enjoyable way. It's just what it is, man. But anyways, I'm going to go back to... We're running out of time here, but I want to talk about Ghost of Odessa, because I just fucking love this one, man. Hit the 50% mark, by the way. Hit the 50% mark. I'm pretty psyched. I wasn't sure if Kickstarter was a good idea. So this has been my experiment to see what the Kickstarter process is like. And I have learned a lot from it. And I will say this, in the future, I don't think for authors it is necessarily worth it. But I have to like check back my notes when everything's done. It's extra stress, not really needed. And their process doesn't make things easier. It makes things harder, but there's no extra benefit to it. But at the same time, watching the guys support this thing, it's going to be awesome. Because, like, so this guy's on Twitter, named Seriously Ugly, does a lot of, like, the style's called Ligna Clara. If you ever watched Adventures of Tintin or seen the artwork from comic book artist Mobius, it's that style. And that's the style I wanted for Ghost of Odessa. Because I like the idea, and the same one before was, like, pulp fiction stuff, where I wanted to see... It's not real, like the content is real, but I need it fakeified just enough where people understand. It's like RoboCop, right? It's not real, but it's presented as if it was real. And I kind of like an extreme version of that, and I like the style for it. But anyways, Ghost of Odessa, it's hit the 50% mark, which is awesome because we still have like a month to go till that one gets released. I'm sending out excerpts to people every now and again. Get on the Substack mailing list. You can read it for yourself. I'm probably going to be sending out like a good third of the book so you guys can see it. And if you're like, I don't know if I'm going to like this one. I don't know if I like reading science fiction. I don't know if I like cyberpunk. Well, I'm like, well, here, find out for yourself. Get on there. You can read it. You can read as much of it as you want. I'm sending you out a whole bunch of shit, which is nice. I think by the end, it's usually like a third to the half of the book in like pieces. And the concepts might entertain you because some guys love it. Like the one thing I just released with Ghost of Odessa was, if you remember from Softbone, at the end, he gets the big tittied redhead, and she moves in with him. So it's a very small happiness. Guy goes to war, comes back, gets a redhead, a stacked redhead, a baddie. And then the idea in the next one, and this one of the, it's like a C plot. There's like B plots and C plots, and this one's a C plot where he thought, because he made a bunch of money from the war, he thought that, yeah, I can live in the Amazon town, and they're not going to like turn everything into feminism. They're not going to corrupt us because I'm rich and I'm above it all. But then his wife or his girl starts getting hooked on the same SSRIs that his ex-wife did. And he finds out that, like, yeah, just being here in the waters for long enough is that girls are just going to act like girls. And it's kind of got one of those red pill themes to it where, yeah, even though you got your virginal bride, whatever, the perfect woman, never get divorced, and she still starts running into the same problems that every woman does because that's just the environment that we're in, and you can't buy your way out of it. You can't alpha your way out of it. It's just the way things are. And then the idea that Jake is not just oblivious to it, but he's kind of like lying to himself about it, which leads into one of the earlier themes, because the whole theme of the book is you can't red pill your friends. You can't red pill your friends. And so it's a bunch of other people that are like Jake. Remember how Jake started as like the pussy whipped guy? His wife was cheating on him with a woman. He wasn't even allowed to touch his wife or sleep with her because it's illegal to have sex with your wife when she wants to get pregnant. You have to do IVF through the state. And he finally got out of all that, got free, got a fortune, moved back home, got a baddie, a redhead. And then it's the idea that other people are trying to do this, but it turns out it's not as easy. He was just, it's almost like it's like a play on the one, you know, like the Neo, the Mark Hamill, the Star Wars thing, but it's not the one as in he's some special thing. It's just that most people are really bad at not killing themselves. And so it's a whole bunch of examples of people trying that same type of freedom he has, and him going through with them, and him putting his hopes and dreams on them. Basically, like, I can red pill myself. I can red pill these people too. And then watching how that plays out. Multiple different things. Kind of the same as how the first one had a whole bunch of different family formation styles put together. Like the girl with the baby rabies, the single mom, the Asian incel, the divorced dad, and the widow man, and and the single guy, and you put them all together in this cyberpunk adventure, and you see kind of like how these sexual dynamics play out. You know, oh, it's double cross here. Oh, this person's killing you all. He's going to steal everything. Oh, this guy is actually helpful, almost gets killed from it. Oh, you lost your eye because you were too, I can save her, and then you can lose your eye from it. Like all those kind of things. So I like that, but in this one, it's like, yeah, I took like an Elliot Roger type character. There's the Jake character. There's your average woman character, like the Nancy. And then there's Purdy, which is like, you know, the chick from Fallout, the millennial, that millennial Snark type thing. I have like that kind of character in there. The bitchy feminist character, the Chad that works as a bodyguard. Like there's all these other characters that are all looking for their own level of freedom, and they all either get it or don't get it. I find it's really useful. And this is why I like a lot of people who have read Softbone, who I don't like science fiction. They don't like it for whatever reason. Like I could actually read Softbone because I realized like when it comes to science fiction, people need to write a lot less science and a lot more fiction. Because otherwise you're just LARPing about science. And at that point, just write a textbook. That's why I was inspired. Like Devin's Theft of Fire, I found it to be a great book for that reason. He wasn't writing a book about orbital dynamics and asteroid mining in space. Yeah, he had those things in a very hard science way. They had to be explained. But ultimately, it's a story about a man who feels guilty about the death of his father. And then a woman who's basically the princess, you know, daddy's girl, rich kid, wants to get out of from under him and does a rebellion thing. And these people ultimately discovering what it means to leave a legacy, like, you know, having children. That's really it. A family learning about having kids to leave their mark on the universe. And granted, their kid in this case was like an AI that was developed in Starlink, but I always like that. It's a vessel to tell good stories about good characters learning certain moral messages. And you don't even have to agree with the moral message. If it's well told, it's good enough. Like Star Trek DS9 is my perfect example of this. That is progressive World War II revisionism. The moral message is World War II was a good thing. The post-World War consensus. Starfleet is America. Cardassians is the Nazis. Bajorans is the Jews. Founders is like the evil Jews. Like, yeah, like, and then the Russians were the Dominion. Like, you get all this stuff. But they told it so well that everybody still loves it. Meanwhile, today, I find a lot of that shit horrifically evil. Yeah, sounds like a great read. Stuff is easier to understand when knowledgeable authors code switch to readers like they're 5 years old. That's not, like, I get what you're saying, and you're not wrong, but I think the way you're phrasing it is not accurate. So it's not so much a code switch. It's I would say show don't tell is the easiest way to articulate it, because it is very easy to write a book that preaches to the choir. And I've read a bunch of them. So many science fiction stories out there. I've tried reading the indie ones where it's just somebody really liked Battlestar Galactica, and so they wrote Battlestar Galactica, not understanding what Battlestar Galactica even was. They just saw the robots and the cool surface level shit, and they write surface level shit. Die Hard, another great example. Die Hard is a man putting his family back together. You know, it's men ultimately fixing their shortcomings. I'm going to get back with my ex-wife. I'm going to learn to be a cop again. You know, very obvious stuff like that. And the whole action stuff was like, even though it was like the most prominent part of Die Hard, it's the least important part of it. Those human stories are the part that matters. And that's why if you watch every Die Hard ripoff, they're never quite the same. Con Air was about as close as it gets with their Die Hard on a plane, because they at least have him as like, I want to get back to my daughter, but I'm a good man and I can't let good people suffer. And so he's got that conflict between, you know, help my daughter or live by my principles, and he tries to win both. So yeah, really good books, good stories in general understand that. And so it's not about code switching. You just have to do it from the perspective of the characters. And this is where empathy matters. So like the Jake Long character, yeah, he's red-pilled. But he doesn't read Rollo Tomasi. He doesn't know Ryan. He's never read a Praxeology book. So it's not code switching. It's just that character doesn't think or speak in that way. He thinks and speaks like a millennial with Funko Pops would. And then a dude who thought it'd be fun to go to the Ukraine war and then come home after that. That's how he would speak. So you got to do it like that. It's not like they're 5 years old. It's just like they're real people. And you have to assume the audience is both A, not stupid. The audience is smart. But B, the audience can't read minds. Now, you're saying it like they're 5 years old, but I think that's more accurate to say it like they're not stupid, but they're not mind readers. So I don't want to have a whole bunch of inside jokes that, yeah, if you've read all the Praxeology books, you'll understand this reference, and I'll use the jargon. But, like, let's pretend you don't know any of that stuff. How would I articulate it with character, dialogue, or action in a way that you'd be like, this looks a lot like that? And that's the part you're saying, like, treat them when they're 5 years old. And Red Pill makes it easy. It really does, because it's all based on stuff that really happens and people really experience and people really use and can really succeed. If it wasn't successful, it wouldn't be red-pilled by definition. So all I have to do is just write it like that. Write it like people doing things and achieving things. And I think all those blue pill things that people do that don't work, write those for characters that fail. Don't do the things that work. Do the things that don't. And then just don't explain it. That's the one thing I've always hated is when people write books, but they're not writing a story. Like, you're not reading a story. You're reading somebody explaining a story to you. You're reading the pitch. And I hate that. Those exposition heavies telling you what everybody's thinking. It's like, what's the point of this? If I wanted everything explained to me to where I don't have any involvement in this, I would just watch it on TV. You know that Netflix second screen thing where they tell them what the plot is 3 or 4 times throughout the movie, so because they're on their phone while the movie's on and they're lost. Books don't do that. Netflix does that. Let them figure it out for themselves. You make it obvious. Anybody who's not stupid will figure it out. But that discovery, that little bit of discovery, even if it's just a small discovery, it gives the reader something to do. That's the enjoyment part. That's why those crime noir thrillers were so awesome in the 40s and 50s, because you're watching some private dick solving a crime, but the whole time the keys were there, the clues were there, and you got to figure it out at the same time, made you feel a little smarter. Hey, I figured this out same time as Dick Private Eye did. How awesome is that? And then we don't have time for this, but yeah, how do you actually get started with the writing? Dude, it's like 2 things. One, it's good to plan, but it's not good to overplan. And I find the first thing to do is just write a chapter. Because the chapter won't make sense. And you'll realize the stuff that doesn't work. Because ultimately, if you're writing a story, whether it's movie or TV or book or whatever, it's a series of problems. And how you solve the problem dictates how you write the story. So for the first thing is just like a simple moral message. The idea is your book should say one thing. And that's why I say when Goes to Odessa, you can't red pill your friends. That's the start of it, right? All right, so how would I write a book about you can't red pill your friends? Well, here's the problems. The problem is the whole world was built for Softbone. All the themes, like all the reasons that things are the way they are in the world of Softbone is to assist the story of Softbone. But this isn't the story of Softbone, but it still has all those things. So how do I put a square peg into a round hole? For example, all right, the main character is Jake Long. Do I want to make him the main character, or do I want to make him the Yoda of this new character? And so originally I tried it where I originally had the character Purdy as the protagonist. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't really work. I like Jake as the protagonist. And then I make Purdy the antagonist. You're like, what, the villain? No, the antagonist. Totally different. So that was one problem to solve. Okay, well, how do I give a character arc to somebody who's already had an arc? Because I don't want to have he just forgets everything. Like, there's always the 2 easy things. Like, Iron Man did that. Make him an alcoholic because the stress of winning is too much for him. I'm like, that's lazy. Well, have him forget everything and have him redo the thing again. I'm like, that's also lazy. Let's say a guy red pills himself, learns all this shit. What's the first thing he tries to do? He tries to save everybody else. Well, that's a fool's errand. Well, there's your arc. I'm like, okay, problem solved. So now I got this. He's trying to save other people. So now I can give other characters that original Jake Long arc. So now I have their motivations, I have his motivations, and I have his want. He wants to save everybody else, and his need is to understand you can't save everybody else. And so then as I write this stuff kind of like, and you see how it all kind of expands from there, and then, oh, that lives a problem then here. So how do I get, what's the inciting incident that gets this all started? And I've sent that as in an excerpt too, where I had a terrorist attack. Why'd you have a terrorist attack? Well, there's a problem there. Why would you even want this? Why does this matter? Why is this important? And I loved it because it's like, so like the satirical take on how things are going right now. Like at the time, COVID and the Ukraine war were the big things. So those were like the underpinnings of what's happening there. COVID caused a whole bunch of mass death. And so he ran off to the Ukraine to stop a war, hopefully prevent the vaccine from coming back and killing more people. And this one, I was like, the mass immigration and the Minnesota thing is going in there, right? So I'm like, how about this? They have to, because they've been so shitty to men over the years, imprisoning and killing and whatever, that they have to bring in a slave class of Indian men to keep the city running, because women can't run shit. And it like, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's like a great capstone to that later on. It's like, well, what happens then? Well, how about they don't like it, how they're being treated like second-class citizens and they're not getting any white women. And so they start, blowing things up. Then it leads to other problems. Like, all right, so that means... And then there's certain things, like there was a heist in the first one, the idea of coming into stealing a thing and bringing it back, and like a MacGuffin. I'm like, all right, so I like that. And so how do I fit that into there? And it's just, this is how you write it. So you end up with a series of these things, and then as like the per chapter thing, I usually like starting, unless in my head I have it really fleshed out, which sometimes as like that half hour when you're going to bed, I'll flesh out. I'm basically dreaming up the book as I'm trying to fall asleep. And so I'll wake up like, oh, and if it sticks in my head, I'm like, that's good, and I'll go with that. And I might rewrite it later. But otherwise what I do is I just, how I always say, like, I hate when guys just explain the book to you. That's my first draft, is I'll explain the book. Write the book as an explanation of what the book is. And then I'll go through, and that's like a third of of like the size of what you want. And then you look at it, you're like, this paragraph, I want this things to happen. I want to say this. I want to do this. You're like, how do I explain that either through action or dialogue? So I'll have things happen that express this thing that I want to express, or I'll have people talking that expresses what it wants to express. And if it's talking, then I'll have it integrate with the characters. So like at the first third of the story, the character have their problem. The second part is where they're working through the problem. And the third part is where they solve their problem or fail to solve their problem and the consequences of it. So I kind of like take those things. I want to explain this paragraph in dialogue to these characters who are at the second phase of their journey. How would that play out? And then again, that's a problem. And then you write through that. And once all this stuff is done, you still realize, is this interesting? Because if the other guy doesn't, if it's boring and they don't want to read the next page, they just won't. So I look through, it's like, what can I get rid of? And that's the big thing. Like if I can, you ever read, and you notice how you're kind of like skimming after a while, you're like reading it and you're reading it, then you skim this paragraph, and you read the next paragraph, and you skim that one, you read the next one, and you haven't really missed anything. Like you're not lost. And I'm like, well then, how about I just get rid of those two paragraphs? If somebody can skip them and still read the book, then why the fuck am I writing them? Well, then you don't have enough of a book. Well, it's like, well then, maybe I just need more cool shit to happen. Maybe. Or maybe it's a smaller story. Maybe I need to increase the scope. Maybe I need to add another character. Each character you add will add a certain size to your book. So, and for me, I've found like 4 characters, like your main character, your antagonist, a secondary character, and then like a tertiary character that's very thinly fleshed out. I find with those amount of characters, it's good enough with the action that I'm able to write to make a complete story. You might end up being one of those ones, I need 20 characters. Maybe you're one of those ones that, no, I'm really in depth with a single character. I don't need a second character. Yeah, do you get your best book epiphanies at night or AM? It's literally that half hour when I'm lying down to go to sleep. The only other time is as I'm writing, where you just kind of get into a flow state. Once you're in a flow state, it's like it's an exercise in empathy, where like I picture myself as the Jake Long, What would Jake Long do here? What would Jake Long do there? Or if it's the dog walker, what would Rex do here? What would Rex do there? How does this girl act? And you just kind of go with the flow. Because writing's always rewriting. And here's the thing. When you finish that first draft, you may feel like in your head it was written down and it's all perfect. But then you read it the second time, and there's a lot of problems, a lot of flaws, a lot of extra, a lot of not enough, a lot of things not fleshed out. But that's fine. It's very easy to take something that's in its half-finished first draft state and like, well, what are the problems with this? Well, this one, the character, he wouldn't say this here because he's not advanced yet. Or like Jake's not, why is Jake annoyed with this person? The person hasn't done anything annoying yet. So what should I do? Well, I either make it so Jake isn't annoyed or I add something earlier on that annoys him. See what I mean? It's all about solving problems. And then once you kind of get through the second draft, you read through the thing and it, for the most part, makes sense. And the part that I love, and this is the part that I really love, is that you'll see things happening near the end of the book. You're like, oh, that's actually clever. I didn't realize I had made like this point connected to this thing. And you're like, well, I'm going to have to set this up. And so you go earlier in the book and you add a setup to that payoff at the end. So it becomes more satisfying. That's probably one of the best things you can do if you're ever going to write your own books is write down the coolest shit you can think of. And then once you're done, the stuff that's actually cool, set it up earlier in the book, once or twice. And then all of a sudden it looks like it's really clever. It's like, dude, how did he think to go from here to here to here? Technically, I went backwards. I found the coolest thing at the end, and I just thought of two lesser versions of it that set it up forward. So when you're reading it forward, it's all good. Yeah, Substack approach of going through drafts really bring the book alive. It's not even so much the book alive. And that's the other thing, too. It's like you really have to, you picture the audience. Like I really do, and I don't want to fluff you guys too much. We're almost out of time, but I really do write it for you because you're ultimately the one who's going to have to enjoy it. And yeah, you're going to pay me because you enjoy it, but you're only going to pay me once if you don't enjoy it. I want you guys to pay me every time because I want you to enjoy all of them. So every time I read a page, I'm like, I want you to enjoy this page enough that you want to read the next one. The very ending of Softbone, I want it to be good enough that you're like, dude, I would read another one of these. I want the ending of Dog Walker to be good enough that you want to read another book. I want every chapter to be interesting enough that you want to read the next chapter and not just put it down. And you can't do it to everybody. I get that. But there's a certain, like a servant attitude that comes with it. And like I said, I do my best to get there. I know I'm competent enough to do it well enough. The only problem I have is convincing enough people to give it a shot, or that I'm deluded and that there's not that many people around there. Either way. So yeah, Softbone is out now. If you haven't got it yet, actually just get on the Kickstarter for Odessa, because one of the reward tiers, I guess I'm calling it, I don't know, pledge tiers, I'm not even sure which one it is, but so what it's doing is one of the options are to get a box set. So I told you about that artist I'm going to hire for like a special edition version of the cover that's just for the Kickstarters. I'll do art up for Ghost of Odessa and Softbone, and I'll give it to you as like a box set. I'm hoping I can like do with a proper box in that, but there's a whole other thing on that. Don't worry about this though. Idea is I do want it packaged nice. And then, so it'd be kind of cool that you're going to have your own coffee table book that's specially made by an artist, and you're going to have one of the only like 50 copies of it in existence. I'll probably buy an extra 10 just for myself to keep by. Maybe I'll offer it like as a sweepstakes or something, but and then everybody else gets the very normal edition that's put out. But I always like that idea of like a special edition, because this one really is a case of people putting their faith in me delivering a good experience. And so if I can spend like 100% of the profits, like whatever this makes in profit for the Kickstarter, it's all basically going back into the book once it meets its goal. And I'm perfectly fine taking a 0 on this one just to show some appreciation for guys who put faith in me. Granted, it's not a lot of faith because you've already got the first book. So you're like, all right, I know what to expect and I know it's going to be as good. But yeah, anyways, if you're into the nonfiction, just go get Praxeology Volume 4. It's out tomorrow. You're going to love it. You're going to enjoy it. It's a good book. It's a great read. You're going to learn a lot. Like I said, hopefully get into those feelings. And if you're more in like, look, I know all the red pill stuff. I'm fine. I want to start enjoying life. Go grab Ghost of Odessa. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to be able to sit down. You're going to be able to read this book. It's one of those books you can actually sit down and read. It doesn't treat you like an idiot. It also doesn't try to propagandize you. It also doesn't treat it like I'm very smart and so I have to write it down so I'm smart. No, it's just something. And if I've done my job well, you won't even notice you're reading it. Your imagination will be going as you're reading the page, and it just kind of hits you in a flow state. And if I've done that, I've done my job properly, and that is the intent. On that note, dude, if Softbone gets turned into a movie, anybody could, I don't even care who plays the lead, as long as I get my options. Having said that, ideally for the part, you would want somebody that can look like a nerd. Like, you know that special forces guy, they always show off that he's got a body count, he's like killed like 30 people, but he looks like a nerd in glasses. Like that character. That's always how I pictured it, but it doesn't matter how I picture it. I leave the descriptions generally vague because whatever you picture in your head is what it is. Yeah, Ryan Gosling. Chris Pratt. Anyways, thank you very much for your support, guys. Thanks for tuning in on this one. I will catch you on the next one. Don't forget the Kickstarter. Don't forget the pre-order. Hope you enjoyed the pre-party. I'll catch you guys later.
And Ryan Stone. He's a halfway decent looking guy, a nice smile. You have to get through that wall because he...
79T 2458 Learning Corp Little Red Riding Hood, take 1.
Somebody find out their fucking real names for me.
40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone. Does that make sense?
You have to get through that wall.
But I only know what my heart feels.
Where they say there are Indian people pooping on our beach.
Socially retarded.
It's a spool of wire. 40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone.